Good morning, beautiful people of the center. Our topic is the healing power of humor. I didn't expect to be made to cry. Well, perhaps it's a premonition because, the month, the healing power of humor, the month in which Easter happens. I'm very interested to see how that's going to work out. Well, we've got the right color. This is the colorful Lent, and so perhaps we'll be able to be sober, and we'll see. Our theme has been driven by this beautiful book of the month, The Healing Power of Humor by Alan Klein, and I'm really enjoying it very much so far. Today's topic comes from the very beginning of the book, the first chapter. What do you get when you laugh? It's about what comes from laughing. And I was thinking about that and laughed, and I remembered, almost to the day 20 years ago, I read a story to the congregation, and it didn't go very well. I didn't get through it, so I thought, well, 20 years, perhaps I've matured. I'll try it again today. See how it goes. Yeah, oh dear. It didn't go well in the first service either. Yeah. It comes from Robert Viljoen, all I really need to know I learned in kindergarten. Isn't it something that is over 20 years ago that he wrote those series of books? Just really something. Anyway, this is from that book, and it's entitled Spiders. Stop it. Okay, this is my neighbor. Nice lady. Coming out her front door on her way to work and in her looking good mode. She's locking the door now and picking up her daily luggage, purse, lunch bag, gym bag for aerobics, and the garbage bucket to take out. She turns and sees me and gives me the big, smiling hello, takes 3 steps across her front porch and goes, "Ah!" And that's a direct quote, at about the level of a fire engine at full cry. Spider web. She has walked full force into a spider web. And the pressing question, of course, just where is the spider now? She flings her baggage in all directions and at the same time does a high-kick jitterbug sort of dance like a mating stork in crazed heat, clutches at her face and hair and goes, "Ah!" at a new level of intensity. Tries opening the front door without unlocking it, tries again, breaks the key in the lock, runs around the house, headed for the back door, Doppler effect. Ah! Now a different view of this scene. Here is the spider. Rather ordinary, medium gray, middle-aged lady spider. She's been up since before dawn working on her web, and all is well. Nice day. No wind, dew point, just about right to keep things sticky. She's out checking the moorings and thinking about the little gnats she'd like to have for breakfast. Feeling good, ready for action. All of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. Earthquake, tornado, volcano. The web is torn loose and is wrapped around a frenzied moving haystack. And a huge piece of raw but painted meat is making a sound the spider has never heard before. Ah! It's too big to wrap up and eat later. And it's moving much too fast to hold down. Jump for it? Hang on and hope? Dig in? A human being. The spider has caught a human being. And the pressing question is, of course, where is it going? And what will it do when it gets there? Now, the neighbor lady thinks the spider is about the size of a lobster and has big rubber lips and poisonous fangs. The neighbor lady will probably strip to the skin and take a full shower and shampoo just to make sure it's gone, and then put on a whole new outfit to make certain she is not inhabited. The spider, well, if she survives all of this, she will really have something to talk about. The one that got away was this big. And you should have seen the jaws on the thing. Have you noticed that when you're laughing, genuinely laughing at something, it's very difficult to entertain an unhappy thought at the same time? It seems to be very difficult to do the two things at the same time. And in this regard, humor is what gives us often the much needed relief to shift focus from where we are having trouble to where we want to have spaciousness to recompose ourselves. In the book, The Healing Power of Humor, the author talks about how in the world humor is being used for this very reason, to cause and bring relief into play. Talks about doctors who teach patients who have got tremendous problems how to juggle as a way of humorously shifting their direction. He talks about how a certain corporation hired the Muppets to do a presentation about company restructuring and potential layoffs in order to give the difficult information, the spaciousness to be received differently. Talks about a Texas hospital that shows comedic videos to patients as a form of pain management, and the tremendous power of healing that comes through humor. Our own founder, Ernest Holmes, he practically prescribed joy as a medicine and talked about how important it is for anybody who wants to succeed and get ahead in the world, how important joy is. He says in the Science of Mind textbook, one should radiate joy and should be filled with faith, hope, and expectancy. These cheerful, hopeful attitudes of minds are indispensable to the one who really wants to do things in life. It's a beautiful idea, and I guess one wonders if it's really so. Is there any evidence at all that humor and joy and laughter are essential, or that they contribute to success or anything at all? Well, the people at www.happier.com seem to think so. They have put together an entire website that is based on recent research findings that study happiness-causing activities. And we're going to take a look at that next week. Because today we have the sheer weight of our experience of joy to convince us, to think about. The feeling of happy tells us something. We like it. I mean, by that laughter feels better. Happy feels better. Joy feels better. And it doesn't have to be the jumping up and down kind of happy and joy. No, there's a deep, quiet, soulful joy, a contented, satisfied joy, a quiet joy, too, that feels better. I love laughing, and sometimes when I'm laughing, I notice that it causes me to cry. You know, it goes so far. And I've seen people who are laughing so heartedly that I can't tell if they're actually crying or laughing. You know, and they're indistinguishable sometimes. It reminds me of a song, and some of you are old enough to remember Joni Mitchell's beautiful music. She's got a line in her song that says, laughing and crying, it's the same release. And I think that's the clue about the healing that comes through, the release that is so needed, because we can get so bunched up in this world, just so tense, trying to sort out the ordinary things that are handed to us to deal with in an average day. I mean, the task of navigating the human experience, it's the case that often we need relief. We need the space to decompress. We need something that allows us to recover from it. I love that the author of the book, The Healing Power of Humor, talks about appropriate timing for humor too. Because surely there is a time in life when it is inappropriate for humor. The story of the spider certainly reminds me that there's always more than one angle, one point of view in a story, and what may be very, very funny to us as the observer may not be funny at all to the person wondering where the spider is at the time. And isn't it the case that sometimes things are much funnier much later? Right? Than when we're going through them, not so funny. Yeah. I'm remembering a time, several years ago, maybe 14 years ago, when I was at a conference and I was the resident yoga teacher. And I overslept one morning. And so I woke up just in time and I got dressed quickly, pulled on my sweatpants and ran to the yoga hall where there were, it looked like 50 or 60 people waiting to do their yoga class. And so I began the warm-up exercises, and then very soon it became quite warm in the room as a result of all the bodies and people breathing deeply. And so at the appropriate time, I took my sweatpants down, I bent down and pulled them down. And when I got there, I realized that in my haste, I wasn't wearing anything else. So I just pulled it back up and was confronted by a room full of yogis going like this. Have you noticed that when you're laughing, you don't really have the space to think about the problems, the very real problems that are in our life? Because there are really challenges in our life. And appropriateness comes with maturity, about when to be humorous and when not to be humorous. I think sometimes in my life I've confused soberness with maturity. I mean, soberness in the sense of being relentlessly serious. And I think that when I am relentlessly serious, there's this danger of losing track of some of the most powerful instruments that we have that are capable of prying open the hole, the space in our heart to allow balance to come in, relief to be expressed. And I'm talking about laughter and joy and delight, because these are the things in my experience that bring balance and restore the soul and make space in us to be our natural selves. The foreword of the book, The Healing Power of Humor, is written by Dr. Carl Simonton. And in that foreword, he talks about a poignant moment, a distressing moment in which he attempted to bring humor to a situation. A family member was very, very ill. And he attempted to bring humor in the form of brightening up the hospital room, and it missed the mark. It wasn't successful. It wasn't in its right time. And the family member was tremendously hurt, because the family member felt like his condition was being minimized. And so he talks about that, how important it is to know when and where to bring humor. And I would agree that laughter at the bedside of somebody tremendously ill or about to make their transition, it could be inappropriate. And sometimes it's very appropriate. It's not an either-or situation. I'm remembering again, some 20 years ago, being at the bedside of someone in our own community who was very, very ill and quite likely to pass away any second. And the whole family was there and was very tense in the room and very tender. And friends were there, and I was there, and we were gathered around. And at some point, the mom asked the young man if he would like to play some music, some of his favorite music. And you'll remember we used to have cassettes, remember cassettes? And he had kept all his cassettes in a shoebox. Remember when we used to do that? And so she handed him the shoebox and asked him to select from something there. And he rummaged around in the shoebox, and he selected one and said, "Oh yeah, this is always good." And he handed over the cassette labeled "Head Cleaner." You remember that? We used to have those gadgets that cleaned the electromagnetic head, so it was like static when you played it. And at first we all just stopped breathing, and wondered if he'd completely lost it. And then the laughter just poured out, and we laughed. We laughed much harder than we would have normally because it's not that funny. It's just that in his wisdom, he knew that we needed to unbunch. He knew that we needed a space to be able to open up, and he broke the tension. And in so doing, he made it possible for us to actually be there for him, because we had almost forgotten him and his natural self, his humor, his love of life. We were so wrapped up in the moment, and after that laughter, everything was different. So beautiful in that room. Like we had come back to our senses. I think sometimes when we have space for laughing, we come back to our spiritual sense. When we make space to have a good, clean, victimless, wholesome bit of humor in our life. What do you get when you laugh? Well, there's this great article by Melinda Smith and Dr. Gene Siegel, talks about all the things you get when you laugh. First of all, laughter relaxes the entire body. That's what a good hearty laugh will do. But not only does it relax you in the moment, it's been shown that the relaxation stays with you up to 45 minutes afterwards. In other words, it lingers on. Laughter also boosts your immune system. Laughter decreases stress hormones and increases the production of immune cells. It's good for your health. It's known. How about this? Laughter triggers the release of endorphins. It's the body's natural feel-good chemicals. In other words, it's a natural way to get high. A beautiful way to get high and improve your overall sense of well-being. And not only that, it's also a natural painkiller. And laughter, it is said, protects the heart because it improves the function of blood vessels and gives you all of that hearty exercise. If you want to have a good laugh, go to YouTube and look up the video. Just type in laughing baby tearing paper. It's just a video of a father tearing a piece of paper in front of the baby, and this baby's laughter is so beautiful and so contagious. And if you get to the end of that video and you're not laughing, then I think you're incurable. Really. Then just look at a different video. Laughter helps dissolve distressing emotions. Well, possibly because you can't feel anxiety and anger and sadness. Simultaneously, it produces a kind of wholesome distraction for a moment. It's not that it takes everything away. It creates the space for balance, for the whole human experience to be present. It also helps you relax and recharge in that it reduces stress and increases energy, and it enables you to stay focused, and it improves productivity. When I grew up in the workplace, we were discouraged from laughing on the job. We had to be overly serious. Now I realize that if they had just let us laugh, we would have been more productive. If you come to our center at any time during the week when the staff are working, you can't take 10 steps into this building without laughing. There's a tremendous high value of joy and laughter over here, and I can see how it creates the space for us to do the work we have to do, because here we're in the people industry. We're working with people, oftentimes people who are in their stressed state or in a state of need or hurt, so the laughter helps us stay in our natural state of openness and service. Very important. And humor shifts perspective. A good, victimless, wholesome bit of humor can take the sting out of an embarrassing moment and shift the perspective and allow something to pass more easily. Hopefully what I'm doing today is building an argument for you to exercise your humor muscle. And if you've neglected it, today would be a wonderful time to start. I'm going to go back to the story of the spider and read a little bit more. All this reminds me of a song I know, and you know too. And parents and children all know it. It's about the itsy bitsy spider. Went up the water spout, and down came the rain and washed the spider out, right. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain, and the itsy bitsy spider went up the spout again, and you probably know all the hand motions too, right? Yeah. So what's the deal here? Why do we all know that song, and why do we keep on passing it on to our children? Especially when it puts spiders in such a favorable light. And nobody goes, ah, when they sing the song. Maybe because it puts the life adventure in such clear and simple terms. The small creature is alive and looks for adventure. He has a drain pipe, a long tunnel going up towards some light. The spider doesn't even think about it, just goes, and disaster befalls it. Rain, flood, powerful forces, and the spider is knocked down and out beyond where it even started. Does the spider say, to hell with that? No, the sun comes out and clears things up and dries up the spider. And the small creature goes over to the drain pipe and looks up and thinks, it really does want to know what is up there. It's a little wiser now. Checks the sky first. Looks for better toe holds. Says a spidery prayer. And heads up through the mystery toward the light and to wherever. Living beings have been doing that for a long, long time. Through every kind of disaster and setback and catastrophe. We are survivors, and we teach our children about that. And maybe spiders tell their children about it too, in their spidery way. But what if you cried yourself to sleep last night? And what if you're facing a real challenge right now? Or what if, fill in the blank? Is it enough to say, well, just be happy or just smile? Well, that's a kind of yes-no thing. It takes sensitivity to know the answer to that. No, in the sense that there really is such a thing as appropriate sadness. There really is such a thing as forcing yourself prematurely to walk, go through something when it is not your time to smile. I mean, you and I, we have a connection to the divine. We can trust that we will know when it is appropriate for us to take those first small steps toward whatever it is, whether that be forgiveness work or humor work, introducing those healing qualities in life. We will know. And it's possible that if you are grieving, that it is appropriate for you to have a time of quiet contraction. Wherever you are, there are gentle ways to begin. No matter what frame of mind you're in, you can begin just to look out in the world and practice noticing things, especially if you start looking for the ridiculous, looking for the lighter side of life. You'll see there's tremendous evidence that God is a prankster, especially in the way in which she made human beings. I mean, think about it. People get into the elevator and push the button 6 times. Or the things parents say to their children. Oh, do you want me to hit you? Yes, please. I'd love that. Or how we'll eat donuts and candy and wash it down with a Diet Coke. Or how we'll wait till April 15th to do our taxes. or the way in which we'll say thank you for a gift we really hate. And if none of that moves you, just go and look at a duck-billed platypus. It's hilarious. There are some practical things you can do also to exercise your humor. It comes from the same article. The first is this one, smile. Because smile is the beginning of laughter, and like laughter, it's contagious. Pioneers in laugh therapy have found that it's possible for you and I to have a full-on hearty laugh without having any reason for the laugh. And it still leads to joy. And the same works for a smile. So if you see anything that is remotely pleasing this week, smile. And then monitor your own response system, what happens inside of you. The second thing you can do is count your blessings. And it's very well known now that people who literally sit down and make a list of the things that they are grateful for increase their joy quotient something amazing, because the very act of doing that is a redirection technique, and you will kind of make the needed distance between you and all of the legitimate things you have to take care of in life just for the spaciousness. Because there is a barrier sometimes between our heart of happiness and it's that that wall of negative thinking. There's another one. When you hear laughter, move toward it, because just being near it, you can feed off of it. You can get it. It's contagious. It's just beautiful to be in the environment. I was looking online at a video of it was a Dutch subway, what's that called? A train, subway train. And this woman, she must have received a humorous text message because she starts laughing, and I guess her friend was filming her when she got it. And it's so contagious that very soon everyone in the train is just laughing hysterically, except for this one person. There's this one person in the train, and she could see she's very uncomfortable with the whole thing. It's almost better to watch her, because at some point she just can't take it anymore, and she just gets up and she moves away from the laughter. Move to the laughter and spend time with fun, playful people. In balance, there are times when we need that. We need to be with people who laugh easily at themselves and at life, and who find humor in the routine complexities of life and know how to touch victimless, wholesome, beautiful humor. It's very important. And then bring humor into your conversations. In other words, you can do that by simply asking people, what is it that you found humorous and beautiful this week? Some of us are not good joke tellers. So if you're not a good joke teller, then don't even bother. Rather, ask people, what did you find humorous? And then just notice how when they light up with the telling of their humor, you light up too. And if somebody says nothing, don't become one of those metaphysicians who beat them up and insist they find something humorous. That's not funny. So next week, what we're going to do is we're going to look at what it is that you and I need to know about the healing power of humor. We're going to look at some of the science from happier.com, some of the studies. We're going to look at why it is that we sometimes don't and can't laugh. We're going to look at places where we can begin to laugh again if it's been a long, long time. And we'll probably have time to look at some of the ways we can minimize our humor risks. So let us pray. I am conscious of the spirit of joy within me. Those were the opening words from the affirmation this morning. And we let it be also the opening words for our prayer. It's a way of announcing that there is one spirit that is in and through all things. There is a power greater than I am. It's in me and around me and in and through everybody. And that power is endlessly expressing itself in a most joyful and celebratory way, expressing itself in a festival of abundance and beauty, a display of magnificence all the time. And by this prayer, as I identify with that power within and realize that in me it is doing the same thing, I allow myself to spaciously open up to its expression. I let be and let go and release everything that is contrary to my natural nature of joy and celebration. I realize in this moment, I am, as I was in the beginning, am now and ever shall be. I am in the heart of that power that is joy itself. And as I recognize this through my prayer, I establish myself as a willing vehicle to be a channel for its expression. I become, even right now, a more able, a more willing, a more conscious vehicle, channel for the expression of love. In deepest gratitude for this and feeling even now the changes taking place in my body, in my emotion, in my spaciousness, in my happiness quota, I give thanks. And I release this word of prayer to that law, the law of mind, that responds to us saying, my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. And so it is.